This is reposted.
The year of 2020, the man, Dr. Anthony Fauci, has gotten more press than anyone else, I think, maybe the president of the United States. But Dr. Fauci has made a big impact on society. And today we're talking about the Fauci Effect, which medical schools are calling the reason for the increase in applications to medical school. It's gone up in the US 18% this year. I think this is interesting that people have a reaction directly to seeing something. Like when the September 11th attacks happened in New York, a lot of people enlisted in the military. Podcasts blew up over the last couple of years. We started a podcast. What is it about seeing something that makes people want to do it? Like, is it out of sight, out of mind? Like, I think this is a really interesting effect.
First of all, I don't want to disrespect Fauci, but I'm going to call this the Vasco da Gama effect. Vasco da Gama, as you know, one of the most famous Portuguese explorers of all time. And the Portuguese had the same thing. He went, sailed the world. A bunch of people from Portugal started sailing the world. As you know, they speak Portuguese and Brazilian. And so I think it's the same thing. When you see success, when you see your heroes, you kind of want to, I mean, Dr. Fauci is amazing. He's dealing with some interesting people, and he's stayed the course. He has not gone afoul.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's why we make such a big deal about trailblazers. We say, because of this one person, the Jackie Robinson, the first black baseball player, because of him, he opened the gates. And like, once you're far enough down the road, you don't think about how big of a deal that was. But I like that people can use him as a role model. He actually is like trying to play it down. He's like a more realistic assessment, as rather than the Fauci effect, is the effect of a physician who's trying to and hopefully succeeding and having an important impact. He's trying to play it down, but I think it's people are seeing that someone can do something impactful, and they're like, I want to do that too. As maybe in 2019, you weren't seeing physicians in the headlines being impactful. And so people are like, well, it's not going to make much of a difference.
Do you think this is partially because they see Fauci as a straight shooter? Like, so for instance, I say he's worked for every US president since Ronald Reagan, right? So you got Reagan, you got Bush, you got Clinton, you got W. Bush. I mean, so many different personalities. And it seems as if he didn't really change his personality to fit the president. It's just like he was essentially who he was, regardless of who's president.
He's kind of like a beacon of light in an otherwise very tumultuous political landscape right now. You never know what the president's going to say. You never know what the president-elect is going to say. But through all of it, Fauci is like, this is what I'm doing. He's also pretty pragmatic. He's like, I'm canceling Thanksgiving with my family. People are going to do what they're going to do. I suggest doing this, but I'm not trying to force you to do something.
That's an interesting point. Him saying, I saw the 60 Minutes where he said the same thing. He's got kids. I'm assuming he's got grandkids. And he said, we're not going to be together this year. Someone said like, well, he has to say that. He's Dr. Fauci. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But as we know, there's lots of politicians who say, hey, don't go to restaurants, and then go to restaurants.
Yeah, this isn't a political show, but I have a list of politicians that have gone against directly what they've said, and it upsets me a lot. So I think that is one of the reasons that he is more appealing.
You know, the other thing too, you know, in the military, right? We like to think that the best military officers rise and become generals. My brother's in the military. I've known some people you still have to play a political game to get, and like any job, right? Any job you ever want to move up, there's politics involved. They don't necessarily always take the best person. And so I'm sure Dr. Fauci has thought about playing this political game to stay with the presidents, but it seems as if he's a straight shooter, and that's why people like him.
Yeah, I mean, you hear so many times that like you stick with someone because they're going to be a voice of reason, or they're going to tell you the truth. And I would submit that if he had played the political game more, he might not have made it through all the presidents, because it's like these politicians or people in power, like, I know what he's going to say, and it's not going to be to tell me what I want to hear. It's going to be what his medical opinion is.
You know, and I also just love this statistic too, right? Because we're obviously, you know, 100 years pandemic, right? People are suffering. Everything's been going on in life. And I love that people, I mean, hopefully altruistically, people are seeing Dr. Fauci make a difference, and they want to do that too. That's why I love this statistic.
And I feel like my perception of the medical field is that it's very bleak. It's more and more expensive. More lawyers graduate every year than doctors. And so anytime you have a mistake, you have 5 lawyers trying to take you down. And so like seeing a beacon of hope that want to get people in. On the flip side of it though, one thing I saw from this article is that perhaps a lot of plans were made post grad and they fell through. And so people are like, well, I'll just apply to medical school.
Well,
That's the negative. That's the negative take.
and the last part of that is that, 18% more people are applying to medical school, or they say the increase might be because people have more time. So they're like, I got more time. Might as well fill out a medical school application. Like we have all these altruistic ideas. Nope, they just have more time.
I'm feeling bored. Maybe I'll become a doctor. My mom is a piano teacher and she just took on a new student. This kid's 11 and he taught himself like through an app how to play, and he's actually kind of intermediate before he even started. And she's like, well, what made you want to start playing the piano? What got you to teach? And he goes, I was bored. So I mean it does come through. And maybe people will start podcasts because they listen to us,
Hey, look at that. Or they're bored.
or maybe they'll become a neurosurgeon or a health expert.
Whatever the inspiration is, it has to come from. Inspiration doesn't come out of nowhere. Sometimes it does, maybe Picasso, but oftentimes inspiration comes from something you see. Like you want to become a musician because you saw Led Zeppelin. So now a young person wants to make the world a better place. He sees Fauci on the air trying to. By the way, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Honor. He's a really good guy at what he does, and so it's like, you know what? If Dr. Fauci's inspiration for someone to want to make the world a better place, God bless him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what you were saying, that nothing comes out of nowhere. We talked a while ago. I don't remember who the quote was from, but good artists steal.
Yep. I was thinking the same thing.
No one wanted to be an actor because they just were a kid and was like, I should act. They see someone do it. Nothing is an original idea. And so I like that Dr. Fauci has brought the medical field to the forefront and more people want to be a doctor, and hopefully will fill the void of physicians that we have.
By the way, and I would just like to say this, in this world, like he just works all the time. It's not like he's got this glamorous job. Like I want to be Dr. Fauci because I want to be like he's a doctor in a pandemic. By the way, his other pandemic was AIDS in the 80s. Like he works really hard and it's not a sexy job. And I like that people, I don't know, for the good of humankind, that people want to do that as well is cool.
Yeah. Well, if you want to tutor for the MCAT, please reach out. You can find us at Reposted Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I'm Andrew Keller for Dr. Fauci's assistant, saying thank you for stopping by.